Okay, so now I want to implement a simple search engine on our website. Okay, and so we're going to do this in the management section. All right, so basically to provide a way to search through all these users, right? Once you get a lot of data, you're going to need that, right? So we're going to implement a simple search. Let's go ahead and go into the public folder, app, views, pages, and then management. And go ahead and open that up. And let's implement this. Let's say right here below the filter. Okay, and so let's use some Bootstrap for this. So we'll say div, then another div, say form group. Actually, it's navbar form, and this one is form group. Okay. Let's go ahead and add an input. Whoops. And I'm going to add an ng model. I'll just name it search keyword. Then for class, say some Bootstrap there. Then I'm also going to add two buttons. One's going to be for searching. The other one is for advanced search. And so this one's actually going to be in a link. So we'll say /search. Oops. Then I'm also going to add a button to let the user clear everything. Okay. Okay, so hit save on that, and then let's give it a refresh and see what it looks like. And you'll see right here we have a little, just a simple Bootstrap search bar. Okay, so the user will be able to type some text in here to search, and then they'll be able to search, clear, or go to an advanced search engine. Okay, so let's see how this works exactly. So what we can do is we can go down to the ng repeat, and we can add a filter here, right? So we'll say filter, and we'll use that ng model that I created up here, which was search keyword. Okay. So now if you hit save and then you hit refresh, you'll notice anything you type in here, watch what happens. First, let me hit show all. Okay, and I'm just going to search for this one for Bobby, right? See, as soon as you start typing, it's automatically filtering all these, right? And as soon as you hit backspace, it starts to show everything again, right? So you can do this with any criteria. It goes through the name, username, and email. It goes through each row. Okay, so I don't really like too much how this works. It's cool, but it's a little bit choppy because there's so much data here. And this is just a simple table that I have. If you had something more complex, it might just take longer to load. So what I like to do is not initiate that filter until the search button is pressed, right? So what we can do is add some functions here, right? So I'm going to go down and I'm going to change this. Instead of search keyword, say search filter. Okay, and I'm actually going to set that in the controller. So let's go into controllers and then into the management controller. So then let's go down to the very bottom and let's create our two functions. Okay, so we'll name the first one, let's say app.search. We'll have the clear option. And so in our search function, we're going to take two things. We're going to take the word that they're searching for and also how many results they want to display, right? So whatever's typed in this box, that'll be our keyword, and then we'll also let the user specify how many they want to display. Okay. So let's go ahead and implement both of those in the HTML. So for the search, we'll add ng-click management.search. And then it's search keyword and number. And remember, number is the ng model for the input, right? The one where users specify how many they want to search, display. Okay. So no matter what, it'll display how many, but we also want to give the user the ability to limit that. Okay. And then here we'll add the other one, which was management.clear. And so what we're going to do here is when the user searches, then we're going to go ahead and set this filter, right? So we need to grab this variable and we need to set it right here, right? So first we need to make sure that there in fact is a keyword being entered when the user presses this button, right? If there isn't, then what we want to do is set that filter to undefined, right? And then we also want to set the limit to 0, right? That way we ensure that nothing gets displayed here. So if users press search and there's nothing entered, then we'll clear everything for them, okay? And you'll see in a little bit how this all comes together. And then we also want to make sure that our search keyword is at least greater than 0, okay? And that's how we ensure that, one, it's not null or undefined, and that it's also at least one character. And then same thing for the else. We'll just copy this and do the same thing here. Okay, so now let's get to the part where we actually set the filter. So first, let's make sure that the limit is set to 0. That way we can clear anything that's here when the user presses search, okay? And then we'll go ahead and apply the filter. Whoops, it was search filter, and we'll apply that keyword, okay? And then we'll set the limit to match whatever the user has specified, which is number. Okay. All right, I'm just going to fix this up a bit here. And so for our clear function, what we're going to do is set the keyword. So search keyword. Oh, I'm sorry. Number. We're going to clear that, so we'll just put something like clear so that the user knows that they cleared everything, or you can just leave it undefined, it doesn't matter. Then we'll clear any results by limiting it to 0. We'll also clear the keyword as well as the filter. And then finally, if we have a show more error, we'll also clear that just in case. Oops. Meant to put undefined. Undefined. There we go. That's what I meant. Okay, and also I just realized this is actually the edit controller. So let's move this on up into the management controller, which is at the top, I believe. Yep. Yeah, let's find the end of it here. Whoops, I think I passed it up. There we go. So this is a little bit better. Okay, there we go. And then with that, let's make sure scope is passed up here. Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead and pass that. So we have not used that in the management controller. We only used it in the edit controller. Oops, keep getting these confused. There we go. Okay, so I think we're good to go. So go ahead and hit save on that and then hit refresh. So first, you'll notice here there's a few different Acostas, right? So I'm going to go ahead and specify, I'm going to type in the name, right, all caps, and I'm going to specify 2. Make sure that when you hit search, you get the result of 2, okay? Likewise, if you just type in the name and hit search, it should display every single record. It may take some time because I have a bunch of records, but there you go. It eventually comes up. So I also want you to test out the clear button. If you press this, it should collapse everything and clear everything out, and there it is. It's setting that variable. And of course, they'll have to manually come in here and change that, because if you hit apply filter now, then you get that error. So it's up to you. You don't have to put the word clear in here if you don't want to. But yeah. And then also, if you hit the search, well, first let me pull up some results here, right? Let's say 3, and I'm gonna hit search. If you search for nothing and hit search, it clears everything. It just collapses the table. That's up to you if you want to do that. I like it that way. So, all right, that covers it for this. One additional thing that I want to add before we move on to the advanced search is I want to add a little div here that tells the user how many results they're getting, okay, because this might be useful information. So let's go back into the HTML and do that. Okay, so let's move up to the top here and find a spot. We'll do it right in between these 2 breaks. So we'll create 2 divs. Oops, and a paragraph. And we'll say total results. Same thing here, and I'll say currently displayed, or you could have this say maybe showing. Okay, and so we'll only show this if a search is made. So what we can do is use the variable, the search filter, right? We'll say if it's not undefined, then we'll show this, okay? In other words, the user has to initiate a search in order for this to happen, right? And you see that set right here, right? Where we set it to undefined. Okay, so in these 2 cases, nothing's going to happen. Only in this case will something actually happen. Okay, so then what we'll do, we'll go down to this ng repeat, and we're going to copy this. Okay. Let's see here, where was I? Okay, right here. So let me break this down for a sec. I'm going to paste that in there, and then paste it here. So for this top one, I'm not going to apply the limit. I'm just going to have the filter. And then I'm also going to enclose this in parentheses. And then I'll say dot length, and then add the angular brackets to these. And then I'm just going to bring this up. Oops. Okay, and so basically what we're doing here is we're checking how many results, and that this filter, once the user searches, the filter applies to all the users. So then we get how many are returned from the search. And then this bottom one applies the limit so that we can tell them how many are actually being displayed. So in other words, this one displays how many results, and this one how many are actually being showed per the limit applied. Okay. Okay, and actually, I just noticed search filter is part of the scope, so we don't need this management here. Okay. Okay, so hit save on that and let's see the results. Go ahead and hit refresh and try to search for something. Okay, and you'll see right there total results 1,689 and how many showing. And you should see this if you apply a filter. Let's say I say 3, then the showing number should change to reflect that, and then you hit showing all, it should bounce back to what it is. Now, if you enter nothing in the search, you should not see that div come up. The only time you should see that div come up is if you actually type in something in a search. And then if you enter something that can't be found, make sure you get that 0 there, okay? Okay, now let's move on to the advanced search. So this isn't actually a advanced search engine really. It's just a little bit more depth to this simple search. It's still a simple way to do it, right? So the first thing we need to do is create the search page. So let's go into management, create a new file, call it search.html. And then I'm just going to create a test. I'll say hello from search route. And then, oops, let me keep that up. Let's go into our routes and create that new one. So I'll just copy this one. Okay. I'll say search. And actually what I want to do is I actually want to use the same controller so that I can use the same data rather than having to implement the function all over again, right? So we'll say management controller, but we'll change everything to search. It doesn't really matter. You can leave it at management. Matter of fact, I'll just make it management just for consistency purposes. So then let's go back. I think I already made the link the right search. Okay, yeah, so let's just test that and make sure it links properly. Okay, and there we go. We have our search route. So let's go ahead and build onto this. So we can go and grab the management page and use the same, instead of user management, we'll say search engine. It's not really a search engine, but whatever. Let's get rid of the filters. Okay, we don't need that. Not again. We already have that in the previous page, so we're not going to need that. And then we can, let's keep that for now. I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that yet. Actually, let's get rid of that. I'm not going to need that. Let's see. So let's do this. Let's get rid of all but one button. We'll get rid of the ng click. We'll change this to username. And then let's copy this. Say this one email. And then this one name. We'll change these placeholders to search by. So what we're doing here is allowing the user to search either by username, by email, or by name, or all three if they so choose. So let's change these ng models. We'll say this one search by name. And I'll say there. I'm sorry, this actually meant for the bottom one here. This one's actually search by username. And this one's search by email. Another thing I want to do is for the limit here, I'm going to change this to, whoops, that's not the right one, right here. We're going to change the limit to search limit, right? Because what I want to do is I want to set this to 0 by default. Okay, that way when we load the advanced search page, it's already set to 0 and not all the records are displaying at once. Okay, because we don't need to repeat what we did in the management page. So we'll say app.searchLimit is set to 0. Okay, so go ahead and hit save on that and then hit refresh. and go over to the advanced search page. Okay, and this is what you should see. You got an empty management box here, and actually we don't need this at the bottom, so let me go back and delete that before I forget. Okay, but anyway, so these are our 3 boxes. Okay, these aren't buttons that can be clicked. They're just there for appeal. And in each of these boxes, the user enters anything that they want to search by. Okay, so then we're going to provide them an option, a button basically that says initiate search. That's going to grab whatever condition is true. If it's all 3, then it grabs all 3 and it searches by those conditions. Okay, make sure, whoops, did I not hit save? Oh, actually, this is the management page. This is not the search page. So let me go ahead and delete that. And let me make sure it's gone. Okay, much better. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so right underneath here, under the name, I'm going to create a new div. And I'm going to use this same class up here. Then I'm going to add the button. And the search, it's going to be the search button. Okay, then let's add a function to this. We'll say management.advancedSearch. And so what we'll pass in are these 3 NG models, right? So I'll grab this one, and then lastly this one. Okay, and let's see here, I'm going to add 2 breaks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a Bootstrap drop down button. So, oops. And then in here, I'm going to create 2 buttons. Sort by, say button, class, danger. And then for this one, same thing. Okay, and I'll say data toggle, drop down. And then just adding some Bootstrap here. Okay, and then 2 spans. Now, you can easily just probably Google this and just copy just Google Bootstrap drop down menu, and you just copy all this rather than following me typing it here. But last part is to add a unordered list here. I'm going to add 3 options. First being username, second being, what did I say, email. Then last one being name. And what I'd like to do is make these a function, right? And so basically this is going to be a drop-down menu that when users click, it's going to change the sort order, right? So we'll say management.sortOrder. Okay. And so rather than creating a different function for each of these, what I'll do is I'll just pass in a variable. This one will say username. This one will say email. And this one will say name. Okay, fix some of this up here. Actually, this has to be a link, so let me cut this out. Here's what I'll do. Just put the link here, pass a hash there, paste that back. Let me do that with all of these. Otherwise this won't display properly. And then I'll take this ng click and put it here instead. Oops, let me fix this last one. Okay, so hit save on that and then hit refresh and go over to the advanced search, and this is what we have so far. Okay, we have the 3 fields, a search button, and then an option to sort by. Okay, and so clicking each one of these is going to activate the function, which will then change the filter options. Okay, so now what we need to do is build on these 3 functions, as well as this function right here, the advanced search. So we have the sort order and advanced search. So let's go ahead and build those now. Let's go into our controller and let's go to the bottom here and start here. So let's go back over to the search page. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy these 3 variables and just paste them in there so that I don't forget. Okay. And then for this one, I'll just name it order. So what I'll do is I'll say app.sort equals order. Okay, so now we can apply that. If you go back to the search page at the very bottom where the ng repeat is in place, we'll add a 3rd option here. And we'll say sort by, oh, I'm sorry, it's actually order by, and then management.sort is what I named it. Okay. So we're good with that one. So now let's build on this one. So this search functions, what it's going to do is it's going to manipulate this filter, the search filter, right? So let's actually change this so that it doesn't conflict with the management pages filter. So we'll name it, let's just name it, we'll just say search. I was going to say advanced search. We could do that. We could say advanced search. And I'll even add filter in there just to be really, really obvious. So we're going to manipulate that here with the advanced search function. So first we need to make sure that at least one of these is true. So we'll say if either of these are true, then we'll execute the function. If not, then we don't need to change anything. Okay. Okay, so first what we'll do is create our search object, okay? And so what we can do is, if you remember, we specified that the filter is advanced search filter, right? So let's actually name this advanced search filter. And so what we did is created an object, and that way the filter can change. We can change the filter to either a username filter, an email filter, or a name filter, right? So that's how we do that. So then we'll say if the search by username filter is true, then we're going to, here, I'm just copy this. Then we're going to append search by username. Okay. If search by email is true, then we're going to append that instead. Oops. What did I do here? Okay. Actually this I did this a little bit wrong, so it's going to be scope.advanced search filter dot username equals search by name. Same thing here, it's dot email equals search by email. Okay. Because the field that we append has to match whatever's in the database. So as you can see here, it's username, email, and name, right? So say if search bind name is true, then we will append the name. Okay, and so once we're done appending all those filters, what we'll do is clear the search limit. And if you go back to the search.html, you'll see that the limit right here is search limit. So we'll clear that. We'll say equals undefined. Right? Because remember, when the page loads, we're actually setting this to 0 at the top here, right? So we want to clear that and set it back to undefined so the user can see all the results from the search. Okay. So we're done here. Let's go back to the search.html, and I want to do the similar thing of displaying the results. So instead of having total results and then showing, we'll just have one set as results, and then the other one telling the user what it's sorted by. Sorted by. Actually, we don't have any error messages anymore. Let's go ahead and change that. Let me make sure I don't have any down here as well. Okay. And so the time where we want to show these is, so right here when we get the search limit set to undefined, that's when we know the search has been completed, right? Because we have it inside of this scope. And then also when this is set, so when this becomes true. So what we can do is right here we'll say, instead of search filter, we'll say management.search limit is equal to undefined. This one will just say management.sort. So then we'll change the filter, because remember we changed it, so it's advanced filter now. And then we'll also add the limit, which we set as this one. And then the bottom one doesn't need all of this, it just needs to say whatever we sort it by. Okay. Okay, and then let's go back over to our management controller, and I'm just going to check everything one last time. Got our advanced search button. Okay, and don't forget to add scope to this. So it should be scope.search limit. Actually, this is not scope, it's app, because we actually used, we used management right here, so it should actually be app. Okay, so let's save that and go into our search here and hit refresh and try to search for something, right? Once you hit that search button, you should get the results right away. Also try to enter nothing and you should get no activity. If you want, you could set this to erase the results if you press nothing, but I'm just gonna leave it like that for right now. Make sure you try all three of these just to make sure that they're working. Okay, and then one last thing that I want to do is I want to try to use all three fields at the same time. So I'm going to search for this guy right here, right? So his first name is Greg, email is this, and then the username is this. Let's see if we get him. All right, there we go. We do get him. Now, you may also want to add a clear button here if you really wanted to, depending on how many fields you have. But the other thing that I forgot to mention is we need to try out our sort button here, right? So let's give it a try. So right now it's in order by how they appear in the database. So let's order it by names, right? Alphabetical. So let's go ahead and hit that name. Okay, and then you'll see right there it tells you we sorted it by name, and here are all the names in alphabetical order. Now you can do this different ways. I mean, you can implement a button on top of each, however you want to do it, but important thing is make sure these all work, that when you sort them by whatever order you're specifying, that it's actually sorting it by that order. Okay, so that wraps it up for our search engine here. If you wanted to, you could display this at the bottom as well if you needed to, but I'm fine with this. So thanks for watching. Take care.